Whew. Well, a little bit of movement while we get set up there. Sorry about that, folks. How are you doing? This is Leo Naranjo reporting here from Fairfield, California. Candidate for Governor 2026. Today is the 30th of January, about 2:40 at this time, I imagine. And why am I posting today? Well, just saw some anti-ICE students from the local high school exercising their First Amendment rights with teacher sponsorship to picket and protest ICE. Upside down American flag, whole 9 yards. Really neat. Okay. Why aren't kids in school? Why are teachers pressing this? And why is nothing being done? Yeah, you probably don't want an overreaction. I get it. Signatures are in. I'm in. That's 2. And the next comment I have, there's a young lady that posted a little bit earlier. She was highlighting a story where people are taking advantage of the food stamp program. And one of the stories that she got on fraud, waste, and abuse was of a bunch of folks driving around a Mercedes, big ticket item vehicles, cars, SUVs, whatever, with nice looking purses into the stores buying large amounts of eggs. Eggs, pallets worth, not 1 or 2 cartons, pallets worth of eggs. Holy crap, how'd that happen? Well, what the young lady described, or at least the person that reported it to her described, was these folks come in, they run their own grocery stores, they seem to have a lot of cards. They want accountability, they want investigation, they want the fraud stopped. I get it. Makes a nice talking point. Interesting arguments. Yay, yay, yay. Stir up the pot, folks. That's what it does, is stir up the pot. The problem is, and this is the problem with people who don't understand the programs, Mr. Hilton being one of them, because he has some carve 'em up, cut 'em ups on how to fix fraud in the welfare system. Dude, you probably were on it as a child, but you haven't been in it as an adult. So to the young lady that made that post, to the individual that reported that, for the follow-on people who would like to report things like that, let me use my 11 years worth of county experience in those programs to let you know what is happening. First off, the program is the program. That comes from the feds, and they place the rules on who qualifies and who can participate down to the counties, to the state level. State level gets it, they go down to the counties. Everybody puts their little tweaks in, but the Fed law and the Fed rules are first and foremost. When people come in to apply for food stamps, they're either going to get them or they're not. It's that simple of a program. It's the one I refer to as the program of yes. Because unless you're a real idiot, there's practically little ways that you cannot qualify for food stamps. My method of helping people out was not to waste their day on preordained outcomes. What I mean by that is when you have an elderly couple in their 60s, late 60s, 70s, come in and they want to get on the food stamp bandwagon because they've been pushed into applying, the first fraud is the fact that you've pushed them to apply. They didn't really need to because they're not going to qualify, period. But now the county's going to get paid for doing that application and wasting time to fill out all the paperwork, make them go through all the hoops, sit down through the system all day to get an appointment with a worker who's going to go through all the paperwork because that's what they're designed to do. Prudent workers will look at these individuals. They'll ask a couple of basic questions. Are you married? Yes or no? Yes. How old are you? Social Security age on up, 67 on up. Yes. Do you get Social Security? Yes. How much do you get? $2,400, $2,500 a piece? Yes. You're disqualified. You run the numbers, and pretty much the math pans out. You're disqualified. Make too much money. But they've wasted all day, and sometimes 2 or 3, to get an answer everybody knew was going to be the outcome. No. You get those people, they come in, same situation, same age group. Do they get Social Security? Yes, but they only get 2,000 points of Social Security, $2,000 worth. Are they going to qualify? Yeah, they qualify, sure. Oh, great, I'm going to qualify. Qualifying is the simple part. The whole point of the program is how much are you going to be paid? That's the gem. Just because you qualify doesn't mean jack. It's do you qualify with payment that gets you the booby prize. And here's the booby prize. I'm using top of the head figures, so it's about 11 years old, 9 current math. And let me say this. Back then, you couldn't qualify if your income from all sources was around $2,300 a month. Now, you could have $5 million in the bank, yes. You could drive a Lexus, brand spanking new, custom built 2027 version if you wanted to, yes. You could have all kinds of stuff, yes. But the program parameters were disqualifying for you if you made over $2,300 a month. That's it. Poof. You could walk into it $5 in your pocket. This is all I make a month is $5 a month. They will grant you food stamps. But he rolled up in a limo. Doesn't matter. $5 a month is what he makes. He's granted food stamps. But he owns a 5,000 square foot home. Doesn't matter. $5 is what he makes. He'll get food stamps. Yes. That's how the program parameters work. So now you have people on food stamps. Woohoo! They've made the catch. The older couple that I said and talked about earlier, if they had $2,200 in food stamps, or $2,200 in income, and the level is $2,300 to qualify, yes, you made the food stamp program. Your amount is going to be $5. And I could almost accurately pinpoint people who came in based on their income, where they would fall and how much they got paid. That's how good I was. So in that scenario, $5 is all they would get. Some people would literally be pissed off. All that just to get $5 effing dollars? Yes, sir, ma'am, that's it. These are the rules. I just follow the procedures. Excuse me. But now we have the individual who qualifies. Let's say they're homeless. A lot of people say that. A lot of people say they're in distress. A lot of people say that they have no food in the pantry. A lot of people say they haven't eaten in a while, and they're so low. These are the tricksters and the gamesters because they know the language to jerk the chain of the counties. As soon as they say they have no food in the pantry, boof, they call it expedited food stamps. That means you're going to get determined that day. You're going to get stamps that day. They will cut it loose manually that day. That's how that works. Because they don't want to get sued for violating federal laws. Now your individual who's homeless, qualifies for food stamps, maxes out, we're going to use for argument purposes, $200 figure. You get $200 worth of food stamps, probably more than that, but like I said, $200 we're going to use for argument purposes. Take your $200 food stamps, you're a happy camper, you get an EBT card, electronic benefits transaction card, specifically for you, the recipient. In order to access money placed on that card, you need to create your independent PIN number. Poof. That's yours specifically. Don't share it, don't give it, don't hand it out to anybody because they can't access your benefits unless you give them a PIN number. And if you do and you get cleaned out, that's your problem. Not the state's. There's no return on investment there. You lost $200 of food stamps if you give your card and your PIN number to your girlfriend and she goes batshit crazy and cleans you out. That's not fraud. That's stupidity on the part of the recipient. We're going to go on with our little example. So now Freddie has his food stamp card. He goes down to his local merchant, whoever that may be, swipes the card, enters the PIN, does everything legally. The illegal part of that is if you have skimmers in place or people who run the stores that allow skimmers and somehow are able to get new cards That's how you can steal EBT money. Yes, I get that. But the lady's example was that these people are getting full-blown cards and coming in and just charging them off. How was that? That's fraud. No, ma'am, it's not fraud. It's morally corrupt, yes, I'll give you that, but it's not fraud per se, because the recipients of those cards gave up the card and willingly gave up the PIN number. But there was a transaction involved to do that. Nobody just hands over a $200 EBT card to somebody without getting something back. No, gotta have an exchange. And everybody in the food stamp program knows what that rate of exchange is. Sacramento, California, the rate of exchange is $1 for every $2 worth of food stamps. So in my example, $200 of EBT card will get you $100 in cash. You think a junkie is concerned about only $100? Hell no. That's fixed for a week. Maybe a day, maybe 2 days. And they're done. Poof. That's what some of these unscrupulous store owners are doing, is they're buying the benefits. I give you $100 for your $200. Well, guess what? The person who had the card gets $100 in hard cash. The store owner gets to buy $200 of goodies and only cost them $100. That's how they keep the process streaming. That's how they keep it rolling, rocking and rolling. Now, if there's any other type of payment for their store using the EBT card or facilitating the EBT card uses, that's between that vendor and the federal government. There's still no fraud there. The fraud was the transaction of the recipient selling. But who is in trouble with the fraud charge? The recipient, not the person who bought the card. And more often than not, no one's even going to give a rat's about that transaction unless you're talking about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in whack food stamps. Then you might generate a case, depending on how backed up your investigation squads are. And if you have them, and they're fully staffed, and they're not directed to look the other way, that's what happens with that process. So I understand the frustration of the public to see that type of lunacy with people who should never have cards buying in mass or in bulk with EBT cards. Yes, I get it. Morally, that's corrupting. But it's not fraud. It's sick, but it ain't fraudulent. The person who sold the card for the cash is doing the fraudulent activity because they're selling their EBT card. If they just gave it away and gave the PIN number up, then that's stupidity in action. That's not against the law. Hell, we have over 200 people in the legislature that seem to be ignorant, but they're not being charged for being stupid. This is what I mean when we start yowling and screaming about, oh, welfare fraud, we got to crack down on it. Yes, we do, but you have to know what it is you're cracking down on to crack down on it. I worked in these programs for 11 years, and I didn't even myself know that there were 19 of them that are offered throughout the state of California. Oh my God, are you serious? But my words still hold true that I used to tell people, unless you're a woman, mental issued, broke, deviant, mentally challenged, if not psychotic, an alcoholic to the degree of non-functioning, a dope addict to the degree of non-functioning, crippled, blind, on the verge of death, over 80, under 5, you will probably not be assisted by welfare programs, even though you've paid into it for the entirety of your life as a regular, law-abiding U.S. citizen. These programs are not designed for you. There are other programs designed for you, but welfare programs aren't necessarily the ones. Not saying you're excluded from them, just saying it's very difficult to apply for certain benefits that you're not going to be qualified for because of those particular parameters that I have witnessed. Is that the same countrywide, statewide, countywide? Each and every person has their own distinct issues. Each and every person has their own distinct qualifications. And each and every county and state handles their cases differently. Seems in Solano County, This is a funny little county, let me tell you. Solano County in California, they put their welfare office in the middle of freaking nowhere in a business park. You think there's trains running through for the clients? The people to apply? Hell no, it's a train track for freight. You think there's easy access from the road system? Hell no, it's in the middle of nowhere. Lots of parking, but there's no businesses, there's no food, there's no pantries, there's no anything that they can utilize or camp or stay at. So it's like the mentality here is, we don't want you in our county. Nothing wrong with that. Hell, I've heard stories of people in Solano County migrating out of the county coming to Sacramento. Now that's a different monstrosity there. Solano County might not take you in, but oh my God, you go to Sacramento County, their main welfare office is right next to freaking light rail that clients get a bus ticket for to ride up and down all day long, do what they want to do, all over the city. They got a food pantry right around the corner, so as soon as they get done with us, they go over there to the food pantry. They got stuff that they can get from one of the closets around there, clothing closets, within a couple of blocks radius. They got restaurants. They got a little market. They got all kinds of stuff to give people access to the welfare department. That's why the rumors right now, Sacramento City is fed up with that and they want the welfare office gone from 28th Street. But if you ask the pundits and the people in charge, the building is too old to keep updating it at cost. We therefore have to relocate and terminate our lease as a cost-saving measure for the citizens of California. Bullshit. The money you've been skimming off the food stamp program and the Medi-Cal program is dribbling out due to Trump, and you can't skim it anymore, so you're losing funding. I understand that fully. And they tightened up on the Kyle Works rules, so you're kind of unable to screw that one over either. And the other ones, I don't think you would dare to start trying to screw or pooch them over because the eyeballs of scrutinies are on the state. Immigrants seems to be a hot topic. Cash assisted program for immigrants, the CAPI program, you're not going to try and pooch over because that one's going to get creamed heavily. And if you haven't heard about the CAPI program, that's the one that gives immigrants almost the equivalent of Social Security benefits without having to be a Social Security recipient to people in the state of California, especially in Sacramento County. Oh, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of cheating going on, and it ain't just the people with the cards. It's the people running the programs. It's the management. It's the city councils. It's the local government who rely on the funding that they're taking by overbilling federal agencies to run these programs. How do they overbill? They force their workers to charge all of their work against the program they need the money from. Used to be Medi-Cal and used to be food stamps. Now their work could have been spread out through the day of all kinds of different stuff. Hell, they could have not worked food stamp programs all day long, but management will tell them to charge off 7 hours out of their 8-hour day. That's the admin cost. That's what we, the taxpayers, are paying for to pump up the coffers of the county, who then pour it into the county's general fund to use for their programs and other little nifty-difty projects. That was the graft and the scam. But the example that was given, it's not scam, it's business. They get a card, they sell it. The abuser with their $100 of cash goes about their merry way until the next month when they get another allotment. The people will get the cards, they burn them up until they're done, and they throw the card away. The dangerous game is when people do that, as I've had some individuals try it. They'll take their $200 worth of food stamps, sell the card, and then turn around and declare the card as lost or stolen, coming back into the food stamp office to get a new EBT card with a new PIN number to try it again. What you basically have heard is me describe a recipient of food stamps skimming from buyers in a devious way. Like I said, we've heard some of those stories, but they're atomized in minutia, because the first time that you try a sting like that, mofos on the street looking for you. And I had a gentleman who bought a card and gave me that story that he just got swindled out of $100. And I explained to him what happened and how he did it. To his surprise, he couldn't believe it. I said, but you can request another card if you want to. Or you can report the fraud, because the other card's going to go to the original person. How do I do that? Here's the fraud hotline. Turn it in. Let them know that this person tried to sell you their benefits card. And you took it to report that transaction. I can do that? Yes, sir. Well, hot damn, I'm going to get that SOB. And that man hung up and reported a fraud situation. My coworkers busted out laughing. And after 2 or 3 minutes of cracking up, they said, I can't believe it, Leo. You're the only worker that we've known in the history of this building to actually have a member of the public work for you to detect fraud, waste, and abuse. Thought about that, and I said, yeah, I just did, didn't I? Damn, I'm good. That's how that game is played. And it's been played for years. Folks know it. Businesses know it. People know it. Everybody seems to know it except the people funding it, which are the taxpayers and the citizens who don't even know what welfare programs are, much less that the building exists. They've heard of it. Where are they? Government agencies know of this. The government entities know of this. It's a shell game. So when you hear those stories, they're fanciful. Yeah, they sound bad. Yeah, they sound horrible. But that's not the type of fraud people are talking about. That's stupidity in action on an industrial scale. And everybody pats their backs because they all do it. Is that right for you and me? No. But you would have to get the feds to cut back on the parameters to get into the program. Good luck trying to do that one. You would have to get the states and the counties to tighten up on their rules concerning the program. That ain't going to happen because they have to follow the federal formula. No matter what, the federal formula rules. I just wanted to put that out there so that people don't get on this maniacal rant on fraud with the food stamp program, the EBT cards. The EBT card is not a benefit, it's a card. Looks just like your regular ATM card. No chip. Another issue that they have. But yeah, that's what they do. Now, one last thing on the cards. There's a company that makes those cards. Sacramento County, on average, we used to do about, well, I'm not going to say for the county. I will say for me. I used to go through at least 10 or 20 replacement cards a freaking day. And I was one worker out of about 40. So I would say on average, we went through at least 200 or 300 additional cards a day for people who claimed they lost them. I always used to tell my clients, how the hell could you lose the only access to money and food in a benefit card that you have? And what have you been doing? They didn't go to me anymore to replace cards. They went to my coworkers to get their stuff passed through. I couldn't catch all of them, but I'd catch that one, and it'd be a good one because it would be nailed all the time. Gives you a little update, gives you a little highlight, gives you a little perspective when you hear the stories and the nightmarish scenes and scenarios of food stamps and how people are getting over and how pissed off certain people are and citizens are and everything else. I get it, I understand it. But don't make it out for more than it is. There are other fraudsters who are getting away with far worse. Those we definitely are going to go after as well. My name is Leo Naranjo IV. I'm running for governor of California in 2026. I look forward to working with the welfare departments up and down this state to figure out how we're going to start curbing some of those excesses in their programs. Helping people, I'm all for. Helping skimsters and scammers, I'm not. You guys have a great afternoon. Enjoy the day. I made the first qualifying cut, so I'm going to go and celebrate for me presently. Have a good one. Pizza is coming up soon. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.